African Union now. There is no time to waste. We must unite or we perish.
We unite or we perish. I want to apologize to Kwame Nkrumah. Those of us who believed in gradualism were wrong. Nkrumah was right. Our generation, he says, fought for the liberation of Africa. It is the duty of the new generation to carry the torch forward.
Welcome, Dr. Malana.
Thank you very much.
Okay. On this August occasion, that is the 60th anniversary of the African Union, can you tell us how your organization, that is Ministry of the Future, helping to fulfill the dreams and aspirations of the founding founders of the Organization of African Union, particularly Osadifu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Yes, thank you very much, FOCA TV, Brother Frank. Ministry of the Future is an NGO that has set out, was registered in 2014 with its mandate was to recruit African youth starting here in Ghana and Africans of the diaspora who are ethically and morally upright, who have a pan-African vision spiritually and physically, and to act in the capacity as a think tank to assist African governments with research and analysis on their natural resources, the import, the export, on dealing with foreign countries to make sure that Africa, starting here in Ghana, get a fair deal. But Ministry of the Future started this, and of all the places that we began to organize was really at the University of Ghana, at the Institute of African Studies, the very institute that His Excellency Osadifu Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in the late 1950s and early 60s established that institute for similar purposes as what Ministry of the Future is about to tell you that we are doing now. And one of them is that Ministry of the Future felt that it needed to actually bring the African diaspora to Ghana, to Africa, without fear nor favor, beyond the realms of tourists or tourism, beyond the realms of being seen as black Americans or foreigners, but to bring our people from the African diaspora, and I'm talking about specifically descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, all inclusive of those blacks in Britain, those in Canada, United States of America, throughout the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, who desired to come back to Africa to assist them in getting their citizenship. So Ministry of the Future felt that this was paramount in order to get on the road of fulfilling the dreams and aspirations of what our forebears had seen. And so we set out in 2014 with an educational platform with the help of Dr. Obadeli Kambone, a research fellow at that time, full-fledged research fellow at the University of Ghana, Institute of African Studies. We used his office and also the auditorium that was attached to his office for the different research fellows at that time, where we could have weekly meetings. And this is what we did. We had weekly educational outreach meetings there. And on the road to doing that, we felt that the priority at that moment in 2015 should be getting citizenship for Africans of the diaspora. Because the way things were, Africans of the diaspora were coming and spending billions of dollars. Africans of the diaspora who were living in Ghana. We did a research analysis on the budget and the spending that this group was giving, if you will, bringing added value to the economy of Ghana. And much less to talk about the Africans in the diaspora, spread all the way from Britain, Canada, United States of America, especially in the United States of America, where Africans of the diaspora, or African Americans, have the highest purchasing income that is equal to about, I think, number 6 or 7 nation in the world, over $1 trillion. And so Ministry of the Future felt that if we're going to bring our brothers and sisters here, we got to get them their citizenship. And in the Institute of African Studies, as I said a moment ago, we carried on these programs with educational outreach, and we started moving throughout Ghana to educate Ghanaians of the importance of our brethren and sistren, kith and kin that needed to come home, not as a tourist, not as a cash cow, not as a foreigner, but as part and parcel of the continent. To let our people know, because many of our people here on the continent didn't, and still many don't today, have a clue to know what happened to their brethren and sisters throughout the transatlantic slave trade. They didn't know that our people had been taken illegally, kidnapped, and were coming back now with the love in our hearts of the mother country and wanting to be part and parcel to help and build it. So the long and the short of that was simply this. We did the educational outreach, citizenship advocacy with government, and finally on the 28th of December, that is in 2016, for the first time in the history since the advent of the transatlantic slave trade and since it ended, that a sitting head of state of Africa, in this case here, it was the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, on the 28th of December 2016, that actually, and we have on video, on camera, says, I am giving you a right that was taken away from you, your right to return. So we had accomplished that, and as a result of that, it went out like a tsunami that all over the internet, the Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, Africans of the global African diaspora community heard about this, and now Ghana was the focus point in the world where Africans of the diaspora felt they have. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I think it's one point that I should mention here of the right to return on the 28th of December 2016. It gave impotence, if you will, gave birth by 2017. We could see that the year of return was coming, because we knew in 2019 that the United States of America, the African descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, would be celebrating the 400 years of Jamestown. You understand, Virginia coming to America would come 400 years after that, and that would be actually in August 2019. So all of this began to culminate together. So what we did with the right to return on starting the citizenship movement of Africans of the diaspora, getting citizenship in Ghana to spread like wildfire throughout other African countries, it also gave impotence and birth to the year of return. And I would like to say also, in addition to that, a moment ago I forgot to mention a very important contributor to establishing the Organization of African Unity, and that was His Excellency, the late Dr. Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. He was a very adamant supporter of establishing the Organization of African Unity. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was very, very effective. But coming back to the Organization of African Unity, the Ministry of the Future looked with introspection to say that, hey, we are actually fulfilling the dreams of what Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, had foreseen going back over 70 years ago, on not only liberating the African continent from colonialists, but actually integrating the African of the diaspora, finding a means to bring our people home. And so Ministry of the Future saw that, and we give praise to the Most High, and of course to our forebears, as I said earlier at the outset, who were a part of establishing the Organization of African Unity. His Excellency, Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, Sekou Toure, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ozikwe, I mean, you name them. There were so many involved in doing this. And so Ministry of the Future felt that it is helping in the fulfillment of these dreams and aspiration. And we saw this, if you will, on the celebration of African Liberation Day just recently. So we're giving a reality check to say that we are actually fulfilling the dreams and aspirations of what Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah had seen. Some of the dreams and aspirations on building a new Africa, building a united Africa. And we felt, Ministry of the Future, that Africa cannot be united unless the African of the diaspora is integrated into this particular system. And furthermore, Ministry of the Future has come to the realization that the African Union did not or does not realize that the house that is trying to build cannot stand unless the cornerstone is firmly put in place. And Ministry of the Future, in its works with the African diaspora community and with continental Africans, have come to the realization that the African of the diaspora, that is descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, is the cornerstone, that is the cornerstone to build Africa and to put Africa into place in the house together. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that is the momentum behind and recognition on this August occasion of celebrating the 60th anniversary of the African Liberation Day. To give thanks and praise to the Most High and to our forebears and African ancestors who labored, many died, to make sure that the African continent and African people were free. And Ministry of the Future is humbly as a servant, is helping to fulfill those dreams and aspirations by bringing citizenship to our brothers and sisters. And mind you, I must say, that is just the first phase of Ministry of the Future's vision, aims, objectives, and beyond. There are at least 4 phases of Ministry of the Future's mandate. 1 is to bring our people back to Africa. We are doing that. 2 is to bring citizenship to our people, because many of the Africans of the diaspora are still romanticizing Africa, and the only way we can get them around and over that romanticism is get them on the continent so they can see the reality of what goes on within Africa. And number 3 is, once we get the citizenship for Africans of the diaspora, there has to be an economic system, economic stability, to bring about sustainability of the African of the diaspora. So what we're talking about is economic development. And we're at that stage right now where we are pushing for economic development for the African of the diaspora to be integrated along with the continental African, where the both of us can move forward with economic development. And that should come, in my opinion, precede social integration. It's inevitable that we have to socially integrate, but we must not lose sight of the economic component first, because the economics is the reality of bringing the two people together and to bring harmony amongst the two. And then the next stage, the 4th stage, is that Africans of the diaspora, once they have gotten a foothold on the continent, we have to look in the future to talk about land sovereignty. Land sovereignty. Because Africans of the diaspora, as the children that has been written in the books and has been proven to be the children of ancient Israel or Canaan, must find the land to resettle ourselves or themselves. So Ministry of the Future has aims, vision, and objectives looking in that direction. And on this August day, if you will, of celebrating African Liberation Day, under the auspices of the African Union, Ministry of the Future is endeavoring without fear nor favor to fulfill these aims and objectives of what the forebears has seen with the leadership at that time of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We give praise and thanks. Amen.